Everyone, my name is Ed Chan. I'm the non-executive chairman of the Chan and Naylor Group. We're an accounting firm. We prepare tax returns and we do financial planning and finance. And we've got offices in around Australia, in nearly every state in Australia. Today I'm going to talk to you about cloud accounting, and I want to welcome our partner in Hawthorn, Phil Effimu. Welcome, Phil. How are you today?
I'm very well, Ed. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Well, and I'd like to introduce Phil to everybody. Phil, just give us a little bit of background about yourself and your firm in Melbourne.
Yes, thanks, Ed. Thanks for the opportunity. So I'm one of the partners here at the Hawthorn office located in Melbourne. And there's two partners here, and we're one of the obviously one of the main partners. We've got about 15 or 16 staff members. We predominantly focus on, obviously the tax compliance, value-added services to clients, and more recently, focusing very heavily on transitioning our clients to the cloud. And also transforming the firm to move to the cloud as well.
Okay, that's very good. We hear a lot about the cloud, and some clients are more familiar with the cloud than other clients. And I just thought I'd take this opportunity. You're a bit of a guru in that space, so I thought I'd take a bit of an opportunity to ask you to just explain to us, what is cloud accounting?
Yeah, so it's a good question, Ed. Cloud accounting is obviously it's been it's a buzzword. It's been going around for a long time, but a lot of people, I get asked the same question: what is it? So basically, in a nutshell, it's just a global network of servers. So it's basically our database or client's database or information just gets stored on someone else's server. Many businesses have their own server internally, but like a Microsoft Office 365 or a Xero, all that information is stored in the cloud, but it's accessible through the internet. But the only difference between, I guess, a client server and a provider server is the capabilities. So they have greater capabilities. Whether it's, like we are now doing a Zoom meeting, streaming, social media, and they all connect. And that's the brilliant side of the cloud, is that all these servers, whether they're stored in the US or stored here in Australia, is that they somehow manage to connect to each other and talk to each other and allow them to. It provides a lot more flexibility for the client to tap into all the different types of software without having to have all the data on their own server. So that's really what the cloud is, but it's just that you can access all this information that you want through the internet.
So in the old days, when you used to have the server in your own office, and you have to do backups and make sure that you've got 2 or 3 backups in case the building burnt down and all that. So you're saying now in the cloud, it's just backed up somewhere else, and you don't have to worry about the backup?
That's correct, Ed. It's backed up on someone else's server. So okay. Correct. So if you're using, for argument's sake, whether it be accounting software such as Xero or MYOB, generally on your own server you would have to do upgrades. And it will get stored on your server. This gets stored on the provider server or that company, the company server. So you can just it's always backed up on their server.
Okay.
And accessible to their server.
And in the old days, the storage facility that was on your local server tends to run out. And do you have that problem here with cloud accounting?
No, Ed, we don't, and obviously we've moved very heavily towards the cloud. So we don't store any cloud software that we use, we don't store anything on our server. Even as far as documentation, whether it be a bill or anything else that you want to save, you can still save it on someone else's server, and it just gets stored there. So you don't really have a need for a server and upgrading your server, every 5 years and spending that money, because everything is just stored on someone else's server that you have access to.
Okay, so Phil, what other benefits can cloud accounting bring to a client's business?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, Ed. Look, cloud accounting brings a lot of benefits. The most obvious one that we found, and a lot of our clients have found, is that it reduces their IT costs. Because they don't need a server, they don't need an IT person to come out and back things up and do the upgrades or come and deal with crashes on the server. It actually reduces the IT costs, whether it be obviously the cost of the server and the cost of having someone manage the IT side of things. So that's probably the most obvious one, and one that we found in our practice here. The updates is the other one. So generally, when you have software stored on your server or on your computer or on your local computer, every year a software company will send you out updates, or at least that's how it was in the back in the day, and you would have to do the upgrade yourself. Whereas the cloud provider does the updates without having to hassle you, without there'll be no downtime. There's really no downtime, and generally what I find is that they do the update overnight. So in the morning, the update's done, and as soon as you log into your browser, it's just business as usual. The accessibility is the other one. You can access your data anytime from anywhere, and that creates a lot of flexibility, because if you wanted to work from home, or you're on holidays, or even likewise you've got staff that want to work from home and create that flexibility for them, or you have different business locations, it means that data, there's flexibility for that data to be accessed from anywhere. So another cool thing about the cloud is the mobility. So, and what I mean by mobility is that it's accessible on smartphones, and because smartphones are such a big thing in this day and age, especially with younger generations as well, you can actually, a lot of people do business off their smartphones. So all this data is accessible on their smartphone. So, it's brilliant in that way. But what I also really love is the automation. And what I mean by automation is all the bank statements, all credit cards, any transactions that you make automatically gets fed or dumped, if you like, into your software. So, for example, if I go and fill up petrol today, and I spend $50 at the petrol station, that'll go out of my bank account. But then tomorrow morning, it'll be in my cloud accounting software, such as Xero. It'll be there ready for me to allocate to an expense item. So, and that's what I call real-time data. Because the data actually comes in real time, or at the very latest 24 hours, you can actually process the data and have your financials up to date, literally no later than 24 hours. So I think that's brilliant, and that's the really big plus amongst other things of cloud accounting.
Yes, it's amazing where it's come from, Phil, because I remember in the old days when a client would do their bookkeeping on their own computer, they'd give you a disk which they had the last 12 months, but the accountant may not be able to work on it for another 3 or 4 months. And then you had to dump it all into a 13th period where you do all your changes in there, and then you've got to go back and update it all. But now it's all live, so you can actually go in to the client's work and update all that instantly. And how convenient is that?
Oh, it's brilliant, Ed. It's brilliant. It actually provides, and going back to one of the one of the pluses of the cloud is the real-time data, is that ability for us as the accountant to be a real-time advisor. Because as you said, Ed, you put that brilliantly, and I've experienced this especially when I got into practice, is that the client's MyOb file or data file would come in two forms. As you said, a CD, or later on when USBs came about, it would come in the USB. But by the time it came to me, call it 6 months later, by the time we actually completed the financial statements, you're providing advice on data that's 6 or 7 or 9 months old. But by that stage, the client's circumstances have changed as well. So as an advisor, you could be advising the client on things that have happened 9 months ago, and the circumstances are totally different. And it just changes the whole conversation. There's nothing worse than, I guess, saying to the client, you had a really great year in the 2018 year, and then they turn around and say, that was then. But now things have gone to be pear-shaped, and you don't know what the data is. You don't know how it's gone pear-shaped, or vice versa.
Yes. And in the spirit of where we are today with the technology that we have, Phil, how can you work closer as a client? How can you work closer with your accountant by implementing cloud accounting?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ed. I think cloud accounting, I guess it bridges the gap between the accountant and the client by way of providing real-time advice. There's no lag, and what it allows us to do is one, work off the one file, and that's probably another benefit I didn't mention. But the accountant and the client can work off the one file. So if my client is on Xero, they invite me to that file, and we both access the one file. So I can actually see what the client is doing. And likewise, if the client calls me up and is wanting advice, I can actually look at the data as of right now and advise him properly. And it builds up a lot of good trust. And what I've seen over the last 4 years, where I've been heavily involved in it and rolling it out to clients, is that it's really built up the trust with the client, and they rely on you, quite heavily. And that's a really good thing, because they won't make a decision without you advising them, because the advice will be a lot more accurate, a lot more precise, because you're working off real time, and it means that you're shaping their future, in a much better way. Not giving them advice that's sort of maybe redundant or not applicable. So that's how I found, from my experience, how I've worked with my clients. I'm able to work a lot closer with them, and they're able to rely on me as well, and rely on me more heavily to provide them with more accurate advice. So the clients that actually understand that and embrace the cloud, I've found that we have a much better relationship, and we're actually in a position to achieve better results for the client as well, whether it be providing advice on their business or on their bottom line, or growing their sales, and just dealing with other aspects of their business.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for that, Phil. That was very informative, and I hope that our listeners have got lots of value out of it. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, no worries at all, Ed. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat to you about cloud accounting. It was a pleasure.
No problem. See you next time.
Thanks, Ed. Bye.